Hi, welcome back to Higgsys'S Man Cave. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of me pulling a bike to bits and rebuilding it, I want to talk about one of my passions, which is carburetors and carburetor settings, particularly on Kawasaki triples. So I thought I'm just about to fit a jet kit to the carburetors on this 1973 Kawasaki H2A, and I thought, well, I might as well make a video and show you what I do and how I do it. Now, before we even start and before you start with your comments, I'm not an expert. I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. I'm just telling you this is the way I do it. These are what the problems I've had, and this is how I cure it, and I do cure it. So like I said, I'm not an expert, and I'm not telling you this is what you should do. I'm just simply showing you what I do. So this is the bike, 1973 H2A, and as you probably know, anyone that's ever ridden a H2 will know that the carburation is always a problem on H2s. I've had plenty of triples, and I've still got a lovely little KH400, which I think is one of the nicest of the Kawasaki triples to ride. A lot of people agree, but it is quite small and it is limited on power, but they carburate beautifully. They absolutely carb beautifully. But these 750s, they're making a lot of power, and they've got 71mm pistons. They're big pistons. So, and they're piston ported. There's no fancy reed valves or anything like that, like the LCs had and the later generation of two-strokes. So they're really, really sensitive to carburation changes. And you'd think, well, surely that would make, it would be less sensitive because it's a bigger engine. The smaller bikes like the 400 would be more sensitive to carb changes. Well, they're all sensitive, but the 400s are a lot more forgiving. They're a lot less wildly ported. They make a lot less power. These things, we're all about power. The big 750s, and like I say, a massive, great big piston like that with one carburetor trying to feed it is always going to be a problem. So even the tiniest little alteration on these carbs can make a huge difference to the way it rides. So getting to the way it rides, everyone that's ever ridden a H2C, a H2 of any description will note that one of the problems that people always complain about with H2s is the fact that they surge. They buck and they weave at low part throttle openings. You wind them on and they pull fantastic, and then as you shut them off, you can hear them gung 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 gung, and then pinging like mad and chugging on slight throttle openings. As soon as you give them a big handful, way they're off, wheeling away down the road, which they do. We're all getting old and we're all getting slower. I've certainly got older, and I've certainly got a lot slower since my big crash. But and now we like to ride them slowly. We like to ride them, well, I do. We like to ride them a lot more sedately, a lot more sensibly. And you want that bottom end torque. They're a beautifully torquey engine. They're fantastically torquey, these bikes. They make more torque than the Honda CB750 when that came out, which was quite a revelation. When these came out, they were an instant hit. This is why it's so crucial to get this right. The main problem is it's got a very lean pilot circuit, and I'll talk to you a bit about that later on. And what happens is, and also the pilot circuit itself it consists of tiny little holes, which again I'll go into in a minute. But these get blocked up, and the various faults appear with carburetors, and inevitably what people always do to try and cure the problem is they wind the tick over up. They wind the tick over up and they go, right, great, it's cured now. It ticks over. That is the worst possible thing to do, particularly on a H2. They're critically sensitive, in my opinion, to tick over adjustment. And I've got a real neat trick. Well, I think it's a neat trick. It certainly works for me, and I hope it'll work for you. I've got a really neat trick on how you can get around that. But they're particularly sensitive to tick over adjustment. If you adjust the tick over too much, if you rely too much on the tick over screw and not the jetting, they will guarantee they will buck and weave. They'll ging, 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 ging. Every time you shut the throttle, ging, 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 ging. They surge like mad. Oh, the surging is terrible. Because what you're doing is you're trying to compensate for incorrect pilot circuit jetting by winding the throttle, by winding the throttle on with the tick over screws, and that just creates its own problems, massive problems. So today I'm going to show you how to cure it. And before I go any further, like I said, I'm no expert. This is what I do, but there are experts out there, and the expert that I'm relying on today, which I've relied on many times before, is a guy called, hang on, I'll have to get my glasses on to tell you his proper name. Yeah, I've got his card here. Ivan Ravinsky, otherwise known as, I have to read that as well, otherwise known as Rockland County Motorcycle Service in Greensville, SC, South Carolina. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, we got this. All you triples guys, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about straight away. So you'll probably be laughing because you'll be thinking, oh yeah. So it's this guy. So it's an Ivan's jet kit. This is what I'm going to fit today to this, and trust me, it makes a huge difference. It cures it. It cures the problem. If you go onto his website and read the story, he doesn't just do jet kits. He does fuel injection on cars and drag bikes and all sorts of like electronic stuff. But his passion is two-strokes, and he developed this. He recognised this problem that I'm telling you about, but he's a damn sight more intelligent and clever than I am, and he developed his own needle, and his own needles and needle jets, and his needles, instead of just having one angle, one taper to go from lean to rich, his needles have got 5 different tapers on them. Yep, 5 different tapers on one needle, and you can even see the difference. And I'll show you later on when we look at the needles. Just by looking at them with your naked eye, you can see the difference. I'm not saying you can see the 5 different angles. Of course you can't. You need a microscope to see that. But you can see the difference in quality between his needles and the original Kawasaki ones. I mean, bearing in mind this is back in the 70s and these were built to a budget, but his needles and needle jets and components are absolutely precision made in America. He knows what he's talking about, and it does what it says on the tin. It's as simple as that. They work. So I'm going to show you how I fit an Ivan's jet kit to a 1973 H2A. Right, let's get on with it. Okay, so first things first, I've taken the carburetors off and I've vapor blasted them at work. So I've taken them to work and I've vapor blasted them, and I'll show you the next step after that. And these are all the parts that came off it, all neatly laid out and identified. And this is the new Ivan's jet kit. So I've laid everything out, and I've written down just out of interest what was in this bike to start with. Bearing in mind this bike's 50 years old, so God knows how many owners, so who knows who's done what to what. But it had in it, these are the needle jets, these are the needles. So it had in, the needle jets in it were 171-0-6/8, and the needles it had in were 5FL14. So let's go straight to the Kawasaki Bible, as I call it, which is off the Mr. Axel's Kawasaki Trouble Resources site, which I have printed off and pinned into my garage wall, which shows you how obsessive I am about carburetors, particularly Kawasaki's. And we look down here for the H2s and the H2As. Now, if we go along to the needle jets, these are the needle jets. 1710-6/2, 1710-6/8, 1710-6/8. That's for the H2A, which is what this one is, and the B and C. The only one that was different there is the 72H2, which is 1710-6/2. So that means it's the same needle jet, but it's got a 2 on the end of it instead of an 8. Also, if you look at the needles, 5FL14, that's correct for a 72 H2, but this isn't a 72, this is a 73 H2A. So there should be a 5 EJ15, and also the H2Bs and Cs should also be a 5 EJ15 needle. Incidentally, the third and fourth, it's just telling you what clip the needle should be on as standard, and next to it, it tells you what the pilot should be. 35 on the early H2s, the 72, 73s, and then on the Bs and Cs it was a 45, and the 2.5 tells you the slide cutaway. So they're all 2.5 slide cutaways, so they're all the same. The critical parts are the needles and the needle jets, and they are critical. So what's this O-6/2 and O-6/8? What's the difference? They're both 171 O-6s, and the O-6 is Mikuni's way of telling you how rich or lean it is, but that's the Mikuni number. The point is, what is this 2mm and 8mm on the end, and what difference would that make, and why would one be wrong and not the other? So going back to them again, if we look at the original needles, so 5FL14, they're the needles for the early 72 H2, not the 73. But if you look at the needle jets, which are all the same number apart from the end where it says 2mm or 8mm, and what that refers to is it refers to the shrouding on the end, and I will show you what I mean by that. What I mean by that is, let's go over here. So this is the needle jet, and if you look carefully on it, somewhere, wait for the camera to focus because I can't see myself. Hang on, where am I looking at? I've got my finger over here. On the bottom there, it says 171 O-6, right? So that's the correct needle jet. However, what's this /8 and /2? It's this bit on the end, the shrouding on the end. On the later ones, 8mm, that if you've got the verniers on it, which I have done, that's exactly 8mm. So it shrouds the needle. That's the bit that sticks up inside the carb venturi, and it shrouds the needle, which creates a lot more suction, which sucks a lot more fuel out. If you on the very early ones, which those needles should go with, that's -2. So the shroud only sticks up 2mm, so it creates very little resistance, and it doesn't suck anywhere near as hard as these 8mm shrouds. And that's it. That's the difference. And you think, well, that's a tiny difference, that'll hardly make any difference at all. But on these super sensitive H2 bikes, it does. It makes all the difference in the world. And I've tried, and I've ridden around on this bike, and I've tried to get it where I'm happy with it. And in the end, I've given up. It can't be done. You can't use mismatched parts. I mean, it rides great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the bike. It's a lovely, lovely bike. Beautiful bike. Absolutely fantastic. Built by a good friend of mine. And the jet kit will make all the difference. It's the only way to cure it. So we'll crack on with that. So first step, once I've got all the bits and pieces there, this is the first step that I do. I take the caps and the rubbers, and I take some Evo stick, and I glue the rubbers into the caps. And you think, well, that's a minor point, because they'll sit in the caps, and it's perfectly okay there, and I can put this. But what happens is they fall out, and they get tangled up in the spring, and they cause all sorts of problems. So why give yourself a headache? Just do it once and do it right. Glue them into the top, which is, you can clearly see bits of glue where it's happened before, and then you don't have that problem. So I'm going to glue those in. So I've glued the caps in, and just to make sure, I just lightly spin them on, and just lightly touch them onto the seat, just lightly. You don't want to try and make them spin. And put those to one side, and then come back to them later on. While I'm at it, just to start on the rebuild, I'll put the cable adjusters into the tops, and I wind the adjusting nut all the way to the top to start with. There we go. Makes a difference on this video. No music in the background, which a lot of people have commented they don't like, but I only do that to try and spin it along when I fast forward stuff, but I don't think I'm going to be fast forwarding any of this. I'm going to let you see the whole thing. So there they are, they're all going to set. So to the carbs themselves. So like I say, I've vapor blasted all these, and it's critically important that you make sure they're dried properly. So these have been on the radiator for a couple of days and drying properly, but just to make sure, I'm going to use the airline. I suppose I really ought to turn the compressor on. I turned that compressor off because otherwise it kicks in the middle of the night and annoys my neighbours. And you've got to keep in with your neighbours. Right. So I'm going to blow all. There we are. Talk amongst yourselves. Anyway, there you go. Compressor's built up to speed. So as you can see, I've blown all the. I've blown them out again. Now these had a really good drying after they were vapor blasted, but they've been on the radiator for a couple of days to dry them even more. But you may well have noticed when I was spraying them out, as I was spraying through all these bleed holes here, a little bit of stuff was coming out, even after like 3 days. So it just goes to show how important it is to make sure all the residue is out after the vapor blasting, because it uses very fine glass bead, and it's so fine it's almost like baking flour. So it's really fine, and it needs to get out. What I do next is I give it a WD-40. So anything that's got thread in it, or anywhere where a jet goes, I give it a bit of a squirt of WD-40, particularly in there where the slide is going to go, and in there, and bit of lubrication. There we go, bit of lubrication. Can't beat a bit of lubrication. There we go. And then a bit more air to take off the excess. Right, there we go. So that's that. Bit of a cloth. So let's just wipe the bench down. Get rid of that. So we don't want it absolutely dripping in WD-40, but we do want to make sure that there's no bits of grit left anywhere, and also that all the threads are lubricated and ready to go. So now we get on to the other bit of my specialist subject, my other obsession, is to make sure that all the passageways and holes are free and clear. And what I do, is I use a torch. So let's get something to point with. Use a screwdriver. So if we look there, you can see the pilot jet goes there, the main jet goes there, and the needle jet goes in that hole for, and the main jet goes on the end of it. So you can see straight through that. I'm sure you can see straight through those. And in fact, just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to use a torch, and you can see clearly through that, and you should be able to see clearly that you can see through the pilot hole as well. So they're nice and clear, everything's hunky-dory there. Now this is the important bit, I think. Inside here, inside the Venturi itself, this is the side that pushes towards the engine, and I'm going to have to get my pointing stick again. If I put it in there, you can see two holes. You can see one which is, hang on, one which is sort of at the back there. That's the hole that you can see the light coming through from the needle from the pilot jet. But then if you look at here, just here, there's an angled groove or a hole, and at the bottom of that there is another hole. So that hole at the back, that is the exit for the pilot jet. So that allows fuel from the pilot jet to come out when the slide is open. And this is the important bit, that's when the slide is open. When the slide is shut, when you shut the throttle and it's on tick over or whatever, it shuts that hole off. So effectively it shuts that pilot circuit off. So this front one, which we just showed you in that little groove there, that is the pilot bleed hole. And that bleeds fuel and air through even when the slide's shut. And this is why that particular hole is crucial. I've just shown you with the torch that the pilot jet hole at the top is free and clear, but it is just as crucial that the pilot bleed hole is free and clear. And again, we do that with the torch. And what we do, I get the torch, nice LED torch, and I shine it down the pilot hole where the pilot screw goes, and I look into it and I make sure that it's free and clear. Let me just get the arm out. Right, I'm going to put it on there, and you should be able to see light coming out of two holes. This is crucial. You must be able to see light coming out of both of those holes, and it should be a nice clear round bit of light that you're seeing, not jagged. So I've cleaned these out previously, so I know that there's nothing nasty in there, but again, you've still got to blow them out properly. But you can quite clearly see there, you can see two shafts of light, one coming from the pilot jet outlet and one coming from the pilot jet bleed hole. This is the crucial hole. Without that, this is half of the reason it'll buck and ping and surge, and that's without a jet. That's on all triples. I'm putting an Ivan's jet kit in today to address the problems that are peculiar to the H2, but that hole I've just pointed out to you there, that is the most crucial hole on all the Kawasaki triples. And in fact, you know, all the bikes that use Mikuni carbs, 350 LCs have them just the same. In fact, here we have a 31K carb, and if you look into it, this is off a parallel. You can see, oops, where can you see? Yeah, you can see that has exactly the same. That has exactly the same. It has a pilot hole. In fact, this has got three. This has got a hole for the pilot jet. Then it's got a pilot jet bleed hole, and then it has a third hole on these, because on these carbs, the oil feed pipe. Ooh, you can't see what I'm pointing at. The oil feed pipe goes in there, and that also pops out in there. And it has to be on the engine side of the slide. Otherwise, when you shut the slide, it wouldn't get any oil. Anyway, completely going off topic now, because that's a power valve carb. back to the H2. So we've checked that's clear. So now let's check the other two. Yep, I think we can agree that's free and clear. And again, you can see two shafts of light, so you can see both of those passageways are free and clear. Oops, great. Right, let's get on with building the carbs. I'm going to move this pipe so I don't trip over it. Instructions. Put them over here. Right, first things first, needle jets. Now, according to Ivan, on his instructions, a lot of people, even though you get new needle jets in the kit, a lot of people saying, oh, it's only the needles that are important on the Ivan's jet kit, so I'll just put the needles in and continue with my original needle jets. No, that is a bad mistake. Ivan gives you his own needle jets, and these are precisely machined exactly to match his 5-angle needles. So you must put both of these in together. Don't be tempted to think, oh well, the needles are the main thing, I'll just put those in, jobs are good. It's not. You must put the needle jets in. And again, as you can see from this, as I've just explained to you, this has an 8mm shroud. Well, I'm guessing it's 8mm. I've never checked. I fitted loads of these kits of Ivan's and I've never actually checked, but I'm going to check just out of curiosity. .84, we'll call that 8. So yeah, these are Ivan's. So I'll get them out. These are Ivan's needle jets. Even though I've just taken them out of the packet, I'll still check they're clear. Yep. Yep. Never assume anything. And then we've got the pilots and we've got the mains. We'll come to that in a minute. First things, well no we won't, we'll come to that now. I've got, so this is a standard bike, it's got brand new Doremi exhausts on. So brand new original standard exhausts, well, standard Japanese copies, which are beautiful, and it's all standard. Stop waffling, Higgs, get on with it. Point is, it's a standard bike, standard airbox, standard intake trumpet. The only thing that's missing is the trumpet on top of the airbox, the round pancake thing that points backwards on top of the airbox. That's missing. So that is quite crucial when you come to Ivan's instructions. It's very comprehensive instructions. It does tell you main jet is what we're looking for now. So he's looking at main jet starting size recommendations. 102.5 for stock airbox and stock filter, which I think is the standard size. I'm just going to look at the jet. I'm going to look at my Bible again. 102.5 is, that's standard on the H2B and C. The H2A is 97.5 and the original H2 is 105. So yeah, so they are all different sizes, but now we're making these, we're playing by Ivan's rules, so this is what he's saying. 102.5 for stock airbox and stock filter, 105 for stock airbox with a K&M filter. However, 112.5, because they go up in stages of 2.5, these Mikuni jets, 112.5 for stock filters, for stock airbox with top silencer removed. Well, that's the bit I was just telling you about, the trumpet on top. So 112.5 for stock airbox with top silencer removed. So that's what I'm going for. I'm gonna listen to the man. He's telling me 112.5 for the stock airbox, which it is, with the trumpet removed. So that's what we're going for. So we look in his kit and we get the 112.5s. So let's get those out. Put the rubbish in the bin. Again, never assume anything. Double check, even though I've just taken them out of the packet. Check they're good. And now we need the 3 brass washers. Okay, so makes no difference really. So which we'll start with. We'll start with this one because we'll identify and name these carburetors later. I don't mean Fred or Betty. I just mean left, right, and centre. Right. So you get the needle jet and you drop it in the hole. Now you want the shroud facing backwards, so you want the open end of it, the shroud, facing towards the engine. So drop that in, but also what's critical is you just wobble that down with your finger and you rotate it around and you push it forward. Now if you look here, you'll see there's a brass pin on the tower that holds it, and if you look on the inside you'll see that brass pin sticks down and there's a slot in the needle jet to orientate it. So that's now that's down the right way round. It just needs a gentle tap down. So, a gentle tap down. Oops. Bad screwdriver to use, that one, isn't it? Well, that's a specific screwdriver, that. And that one doesn't fit. Hey, there's nothing like being well prepared, is there? And this is nothing like being well prepared. Right, just... can you hear it change note? Which means it's found the bottom. So there we are. That's seated all the way round with the pin in place. So then we get the brass washer. And believe it or not, this is this is how anal I am about carburetors. Even these have got a right way and a wrong way around. If you look at that washer, this side is flat, that side is slightly rounded. So the flat side goes down. So the flat side goes down to the needle jet. Then we take the main jet and we screw that in there. Screw that in there. And we get a screwdriver. We'll try and get the right size screwdriver. We don't want one that's too big or too small. Yeah. Again, this is sounds super anal, but this is after years of doing it. If you use a screwdriver that's too small, you tend to you'll mark the main jet quite badly, and if you use one too big, it won't go in properly. So you need to get a screwdriver that fits in there perfectly, and then you won't gouge it up. So you just tighten that up and you just gently, with your torque elbow, I think that was 2.5 foot-pounds. I heard my elbow click. Anyway, that's that. So that's the main jet. So let's do all 3 of them. Turn this around, put that the right way around, drop that in there, push that down, make sure it's oriented the right way, double check. Oh, and that one's just dropped straight through me with my finger, so I'll put my finger in there, hold it, washer, right way around, main jet, main jet. If you're wondering what that clicking noise is, that's my diesel heater. What a brilliant bit of kit that is. Got that off eBay for about 100 quid. And it, like I say, it runs on diesel because I was constantly giving myself headaches in here by running diesel space heaters in the winter and filling the garage with carbon monoxide and giving myself horrible headaches. So I got one of these diesel garage heaters, 100 quid. You have to drill a hole in the wall and put the exhaust out, obviously out, venting to the outside, and it's fantastic. It's keeping it nice and warm in here. Lovely. Right, there we go. So now you know what the clicking noise is. Now the brain damage is kicking in and I can't remember if I checked those, so I'll just check them again. Yeah, I did do that. Right, that's all good. Now, pilot jet. So again, refer to Ivan's instructions. And I've actually checked this, and when I say check this, I mean I've run the bike with richer and leaner jets, and you really can tell the difference. So stick to what he says, unless you've got a good reason not to. Stick with what he says. So where are we? Air filter. For use with stock airbox or pod filters, the pilot jet is the 37.5. Right. So again, you get shiny that you get you get a choice in the kit. You get 37.5, you get 40, and you get 35. So you get the ones he recommends, and then you get one leaner and one richer. Well, I'm going with the ones that Ivan recommends, and I recommend as well, because they're spot on. And this is where I get my special screwdriver. This is a screwdriver which fits perfectly down the pilot hole. It didn't, but I've ground it down. I've ground it down so it fits in there perfectly. And again, if you use a screwdriver tip that's too small or too big, it's going to be problems. This fits pilot jets absolutely spot on. Oh, I better check to make sure to keep looking at the cameras, because you can see what I'm talking about. Right, there you go. So that's that. So we've checked that the pilot circuit is all clear. Again, we'll just double check that the pilot we're putting in, the pilot jet is spot on, and we'll drop that into the hole. Get my special screwdriver, screw that in, and again just very lightly seat it like that. You know, it wants to be tight because they will vibrate loose if they're not, but you don't want to over tighten it. Again, where's it gone? Little blast of air to make sure that's all good. On to the next one. Pilot jet. Yep, check. Drop it in the hole. Special screwdriver. Make sure there's no dirt on it. Last one. I haven't even checked to see if you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, I think you can. I think you can see from there. I know you're getting quite a lot of reflection off the lights, but right, they're all good. Next, so that's the pilots and the mains done with. Ivan also gives you little Allen socket caps to replace the screws, which I think is a great idea, and I'm going to use them. The other reason is you can clearly, well, I think it is a good idea. You can clearly see then if someone has put a jet kit in it. It doesn't guarantee that if you see carbs that have got these Allen heads, that they've got an Ivan's jet kit in there, but it's usually a good indication. It certainly was on the H2B, that green bike there, which runs beautifully. As Gary Clark will tell you, because it used to be his bike and then it used another guy in the club, Peter Oram. The bike runs lovely, and that's got an Ivan's jet kit in it. So anyway, I digress. Allen screws, that's what we're going to use. These are drying nicely now. So next thing is the needle and seat. So I'll take each needle and seat. We're going to put the floats in. So these are the needles and seats that I took out, which were fine, they weren't leaking, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Make sure you get the fibre washer, make sure that's important. The fibre washer goes on first, then you drop that into that. I keep forgetting that you may not be able to see what I'm doing. That's 10mm, that. So I get that on there, and I just gently wind that in. Gently wind that in and give that a nip. That stops fuel from leaking underneath the needle and seat, which I've seen a few times. The needle, it's crucial that you make sure that the little spring tip on the end of the needle works. Can you see it bouncing up and down? Because they do seize up. I've seen that a lot. They seize up, and that again cocks everything up. You only need a tiny little thing to go wrong with these carbs to create massive problems on the bike when you're riding it. So you need to check everything. That's why I'm doing this, and this is why I'm showing you what I do. Again, I'm not saying it's the right way. I'm sure other people have got other ideas. So that's the needle and seat in. So next we get the float and the float pin. Now these floats, you always check them. Put them next to your ear and shake them and see if they're full of petrol, because they go porous, and I've had quite a few recently. In fact, one of them on one of these bikes. Oh, it was this one. Yeah, it was this one. When I first got this bike and I first went to start it, petrol was pissing out of it. And when I stripped it and had a look at it, took the carbs to bits, these had gone porous. Well, one in particular had gone porous. I mean, they're only soldered together, the brass and the soldered together, and shame I can't show you really, but anyway, it doesn't matter, take my word for it. So this is a brand new float, and it's a brand new float which I got from Steve at Motorcarb, who I always go to for all my Mikuni bits, because he is the man. So if you need genuine Mikuni bits, Steve at Motorcarb is your man. Right, so there's the float on it. Now set the float height. As Ivan quite rightly says in his instructions here, float level stock, must check and adjust. I don't know why I keep showing you. I'm sure you can't see a thing on that because of the light. But hey ho. Yeah, they're LEDs, these lights, and they are quite bright, but you need it in a garage. Anyway, float level stock, must check and adjust. 25mm from highest point on float to gasket surface with gasket removed, in big letters, underlined. So yeah, there's no gasket on there at the moment. So we shall just zero that, set that to 25. Again, this is how I do it, might not be how you do it, don't care, this works. If you've got other methods of doing it, then that's fine, each to their own. So get that to 25. Incidentally, 24.99. If you go back to the Kawasaki Bible I've taped to the wall, it says float level, and it says for all H2s, H2, H2A, B and C, 23 to 25. So Ivan's saying 25, so we'll go with 25. And it's, so what we're looking at is we're looking at measuring the height from the carburetor surface without the gasket to the top of the float when it's just resting on that springy tip. So let's see if we can do that on there. So we've set that at 25. we put that on there, and that should just rest on there. Now you can see that's set a bit high. That's set a bit high. Now it doesn't surprise me, because these were set to whatever needle it came off with whatever amount of crud was on the carbs originally. So we need to reset them, and to reset them, it's this little tang here in the middle. You either bend it up or bend it down to move the float up and down. So this one wants bending up because it's too high. So again, we're looking at that. Oops. We're looking at that height there, and it's still a bit too high. You can see it's pushing it down. So it's still a little bit too high. So a little bit more tweaking. This doesn't mean to say that after I did it last time they were wrong. It just means that I've mixed them up, and you know, you always check them anyway, regardless. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Yep, I'm happy with that. Good to go on that one. So, open my little packet of screws. Get the old. I'm reusing the old gaskets. I like to reuse the old gaskets. Again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And also, you know that they're seating properly and not leaking. A lot, and I'll point this out to you in a minute. And when you look at the old gasket, you can see the witness marks. You can see the witness marks there on the old gasket, which relate to that line around the edge. So that tells you which way around to put that gasket. So I'll put that in. Now again, this is my way of doing it, not everybody's. And a lot of people will be saying, oh, you should use new gaskets every time. Well, yeah, you should use new gaskets every time, but these gaskets ain't broke, so don't fix them. And this is the most important thing to me. When you put the float bowl on, which we do, a lot of these carbs have been damaged. They've got dings everywhere, and this doesn't quite seat properly. And if you put a new gasket on, sometimes it overlaps around the edge. And then when you know, even though it's a brand new gasket, you put it on, and because it's damaged, it overlaps around the edge. And if somebody's put it, if you're not really careful when you put it together, you know, it looks absolutely fantastic, and you tighten it up, but it'll leak because it's not touching. You can, if you look at the edge there, where it seats down perfectly, but if the edge is damaged, it will hold it off. It will hold it off slightly like that, and it will leak. That's if the new gasket needs to be folded round at the edge. Well, I know these gaskets have been on, and I know that they fit perfectly. So anyway, enough waffle. That's why I'm reusing them. Obviously, if they were knackered, they'd be replaced. But they're really good. Those gaskets are great. Now on these on H2s, each individual carb has got a choke on it. On some bikes, particularly Yamahas, only one carb has a choke, the other one doesn't. So you must get the float bowls, to the correct carbs. Well, it doesn't matter with these, because each one of them, these carbs, has got its own individual choke. Each one's got a choke outlet, or inlet rather. I'll just turn it off so I don't flatten my battery. So again, so the point is, it doesn't matter which float goes on, which float ball goes on which carb. So there you go. I'm going to drop that on, and again, you can just hear it rattling. You can tell that float ball is seated. So I'm going to drop my new Allen screws in. Now there's one which which holds the overflow pipe. I've just taken this off the old screws. There's one per carb, and it goes, and again, these have got to go the right way around because it's pressed in, and if you look at the other side, it's jagged. So that's the bottom, that's the top. So the pipe goes through from that direction, and the screw goes from the top there. Again, silly little things that a lot of people probably wouldn't bother with, but I like to get it right. In fact, I've just told you that wrong. It goes in that way, but it's upside down. That's because the pipe comes from the top. Yeah? Are we all clear on that? Clear as mud. Right. Okay. So that goes on there, and it always goes onto the side of the carburetor, on the engine side, nearest the outlet for the breather pipe. So it goes there. So the breather pipe is going to go from there through there. Obvious, I know, but not to everybody. So, you know, then I just gently whiz these in, always by hand, never with an electric screwdriver or anything like that. That's the quickest way to bugger everything up. Bugger the screws, bugger the thread, and then just nip them all up. And I keep my thumb again. Can you even see that? Oh yeah, I've lowered it down. Right, so I keep my thumb against there to stop that rotating and keep that there. Right. Tighten them up. Great. So that's one. Next, repeat. Seat, washer, drop that in, tighten, needle, check that's working nicely, drop it in, float, pin, another nice new float. Yeah, so these were leaking originally, so I got new floats from Steve at Motorcar, which I've already told you. Right, there you go, that's in there. Can you see what I'm doing? Let's just check. And that one is absolutely cock on. Yep, that one is absolutely cock on. Just check that's still set at 25, which it is. Done that before. Again, gasket in good condition. Check the witness marks. Drop that on. Push it on with your fingers. Make sure it's not sticking out anywhere. Yeah, that's all good. Float bowl. Just double check where it sucks the fuel up for the choke. That's all good. That's all good. Drop that on. Give it a little rattle. Yeah, that's all good. Do the two back ones first. Get your stay for your check which side. So that's where the overflow is. Put that way around. Yep, so that's the right way around. So that one goes in there. That one goes in there. I've got a great trick for you, trick, call it what you like, for setting the tick over adjustment screws. Everyone has their own tricks and tips, cocktail sticks, lollipops, all this kind of stuff, and you know, they're all good. You know, it's whatever works for you. But because these bikes are really fussy on tick over, I've gone typically super anal and developed my method. Right, that's 2. 1 more to go. Needle, seat, fibre washer. Fibre washer. Ah, that reminds me, yeah, I saw that when I took it out. Can you see that? Let's see. It's not quite round, is it? It's not quite. I did notice that earlier on. That is not quite round. It's been over tightened by somebody in the past, and it probably wouldn't leak. But just to be on the safe side, I rooted in my box and I found some more, which are good, and I've soaked them in petrol just to get any dirt and crap off. So there's a replacement, which is perfectly round. Again, it's a fibre washer. Put that on. Yep. And you can see the difference. You can see how that one is just not round. Super fussy, I know, but you've got to be. Right. Drop that in it with its replacement fibre washer. Tighten that up. There we go. There's the needle. Check that's all working good, which it is. Drop it in there. Float. And float pin. I'm doing that for your benefit, not for mine. I know that there's nothing in because they're brand new. So yeah, it's always crucial on all carburetors to check by shaking the float to make sure there's no fuel in it. It's not gone porous, because that loads of I've done it myself. Of course, I've done it myself. Loads of people have done it myself. You strip your carb, you rebuild it, you put it all back on your bike. You think, yeah, lovely. Turn the petrol tap on. 2 seconds later, there's petrol running all over the floor, and you think, well, that can't be right. I've set the float heights exactly with my verniers. I did it all properly, and yet it's still, what's possibly wrong with it? And you find out that until you've turned the petrol on, these weren't filling up with fuel. But now that once they're punctured, they fill up with fuel, and of course they just sit at the bottom. Once they'll sit wide open like that, and they won't shut the fuel off. So. Yep. Anyway, shut up, Higgs. Get on with it. Right. Cool. Now that one is a little bit low. So the chances are they've got mixed up in the mix. This is the low one. That was the high one. So this one was a little bit low. So this time you need to bend the tab. So you need to. Make sure you can see that tab there needs pushing down. So again, just in with the screwdriver, give it a little bit of a tweak. Done. Check it again. Oop. Check it again. An absolute Nat's knacker. Different. But now Now that's absolutely spot on. So that's the float levels set exactly as he said. Again, witness mark down. Check it fits in and doesn't jam. Run your finger around. Float bolt. Give it a blow. Drop that on. Now this one must have a little bit of damage somewhere around it. Yeah, it doesn't quite look round around there. It doesn't quite look round around there. And when you drop this one on, it doesn't sit nicely. Can you see how tight it is there? It's really tight there, and it's really tight there. Where they've just been dropped on the bench previously and stuff like that. And if you push it, you can. Yeah, you can. I felt it drop in twice then. And this again, going back to the reason why I use the old gaskets. So why have I only got one screw left there? Why has Ivan not giving you enough of those? Can't work that out. Well, that can't be right, can it? Yeah, I opened the packet of screws. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So there's 9 screws. 3 threes are 9, but there's 4 on each one. So, sorry, Ivan. bit of a mistake there. And that's the packet. So yeah. So I could probably search around and find some more, but just to get on with the job, I'll put some screws back in. Well, how strange is that? Well, it's a fairly simple mistake, I would imagine. Being obsessed with the number 3 for 3 of everything, make sure there's 3 of everything. 3 threes are 9, yeah. But unfortunately there's 4 there. 4 to each carb, so 3 fours are 12, so there should be 12, not 9. Hey ho! Minor problem. So I'll put screws in the other ones. In fact, what I'll do is I'll put screws in all of those, I'll leave that one as a spare. And then I'll put this back in the kit. Right, so I'll put the screws back in this one. They were nice screws anyway, they were good. I think they were new. So that's that one. Now, the only other thing is, after telling you that you need to put all those in, one of them doesn't have a tab. There's no tab for this one. There's no little tab for there. Unless I've lost it somewhere. Anyway, I'll find one in a minute. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute, you idiot. That's a screw. You've just put them screws in. They were there. Told you I had brain damage. They're here. I beg your pudding, Ivan, and everyone who's watching. You do get 12 in the kit. I'm an idiot. I can't count. But in my defence, they did tell me I had brain damage. I'm not even joking. Right, so you do get 12 in the kit, not 9. You just have to remember where you put them. And I have that problem a lot, remembering where I've put stuff. There we go. I can't believe I've done that. Well, I suppose if people that know me can believe I've done that. So what, you watched a video on how to put a jet kit in by a bloke with brain damage. Why? Right. Right, there you go. So there is a little tab missing, and I will find it later on because I'm going to have a break in a minute because I need a cup of tea. So there we go. There's the 3 carbs. Well, let me just finish off. I've started, so I'll finish. Right. These are the 3. These are the 3 pilot screws with the spring, and I've wire brushed these to make sure the threads are lovely and clean, and we drop those in with the spring on, and we've lubricated the thing, so I'll just screw those all the way in and lightly seat them, so don't drive them in like a mad thing. There, you can just see them lightly seating. So I'm going to leave them all the way in at the moment. Next one, in it goes with its spring, wind it all the way in. And again, just keep checking that it's lightly seated. And I'll leave it all the way in until we do the adjustments. Third one. Lightly seated, happy days. Oh, just another thing that I didn't show you because I forgot, but I have checked previously. In this centre hole there, that centre hole there, there's a tiny jet, and all that does is it just allows a little bit of air. It allows a little bit of air to go through and mix with the fuel in the needle jet. I have checked those. So before you get on your keyboard and go, oh, you didn't check that. I did check that. I'd checked that previously. It was spot on. I just forgot to show you. So I have checked that I think they call it a main air jet. So I have checked all those were good, and I could shine a light and see it on the other side. So I have checked all those. Defo. Right. Blinded me. So I've put the pilot screws in, and now I'm going to put the takeover screws in. And very short, we get into the bit. We get into the interesting bit. Why's my heater stopped? It's all gone quiet over there. Must have run out of diesel. Yes, it's run out of diesel, which is not a bad thing because it was a bit annoying. I'll just turn it off. Turn off. Right, turn itself off. Right, okay. So these are the tick-over adjustment screws. 3 screws and 3 springs. So let's just look at them and see which we've got here. This carburetor, as you can see, has got an extra outlet, and that is for the vacuum tap, and that is the right hand carb. These two are identical. H24, so they're all the same castings, but these two are identical. So they both have the differences are this carburetor has got the extra it's got a vacuum pipe there to go to the vacuum tap. Can you even see what I'm pointing at? Yeah, you can. I'll go over there. This has got a vacuum takeoff for the vacuum pipe, but also it's slightly different in as much as what was I going to say? What was I going to tell you there? Yeah. Oops. Yep. This one has the tick over adjuster on the inside. And so we're going to put these in now and we're going to sort that out. Right, just having another senior moment there. And I thought, well, that doesn't look right, but I've got the carbs the wrong way around, and that's slightly confusing sometimes. So this one has got the vacuum pipe on it. This is the right hand carb, and the tick over adjuster faces inwards. This one I'm going to call the centre carb. It could be the centre or the left, makes no difference. The adjuster is on the left hand side, and this I'm going to call the left carb, and again the tick overs on the left hand side. In actual fact, I'm going to swap these over because that's got some horrible casting marks on it there. Not horrible, they're just flaws in the original casting. But I'm going to make that the middle one because you can't see it as much. That one's lovely. Anyway, the point is, the reason I'm waffling on like this is because the tick over screws are different, and you'll see why in a minute. You've got two like this. Keep getting too close to the camera. You've got two like that with these big adjusting wheels on, and one that doesn't. And the reason for that is because when they're on the bike, which is how they are now, so the engine's here, one of them you can access very easily because it sticks out. The other two are in between carbs, so they're very difficult to get to. So Kawasaki have very kindly put these great big adjusting wheels on, and this is what the difference is. So I've cleaned these up on the wire wheel as well and lubricate so they're nice. And so this one on the left, so this left hand carb takes that one, and these two both have the big adjusting wheels on, and they go in there in the adjusters. And this is where I get to Higgs's top tip. Right, and this is where what prompted the whole video in the first place. So I get the slides, I get the tops with the rubbers screwed in. Oh, I get the breather pipes, which I'll put on later, so as not to confuse ourselves. They're the old needles and the old jets. There's the springs. We haven't even got to the needles yet. So they're the slides. They're the needle retaining clips, and these are the springs. Right. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a marker pen. Who's nicked me marker? Oh, I've nicked me marker. I've nicked my own marker pen. So remember I was saying about the slides? They were looking on the Kawasaki Bible page on the wall. It said 2.5 mil slide. Can you see there? It says 2.5 on it. So that 2.5 is the amount of cutaway. Can you see that there's cutaway there? It's angled up there. I'm not sure whether 2.5 means 2.5 mil off the floor. I don't actually think it does. It might be 2.5 degrees. I don't know. I'm not a genius. I'm sure Ivan knows what they mean. But anyway, and you can see it's not been machined, because I've got loads of these that people have machined previously. Anyway, I won't bother showing you one of those, but yeah, so they're not machined. So what I'm going to do is, I've done this previously, so I'm going to mark this one. I'm going to mark this one left. Now I'm not putting the jet in, the needle in. So this is going in with no needle or nothing. This is purely and simply a slide. And I'm dropping that in that way around. So there's, inside there, you'll see the pin. So that makes sure that the slide goes in the right way around. So I'm going to drop that in there. And the cutaway is visible at the back towards the air filter. Right, shut up waffling eggs, get on with it. So I've put that in, then I'm going to put the spring in, and then I'm going to put the top on. And this is as it will be when it's on the bike. So I'm going to do this to all three, but bear in mind I've marked the slide. So I'm going to get this one, I'm going to mark this one C, surprisingly, for centre carb. Then I'm going to drop that one in. Stupid boy pike. Done it again, even stupider. There you go. So that's in the right way around. Cut away to the back. Spring in. Carb top with its lovely glued in rubber. Put that on, screw it out. Last one. There we go. Cut out to the back, pin to the right, drop that in. Perfect. Spring, spring. Drop, drop. Top with rubber, top with rubber. Top on. Right. So just for the sake, mainly for the benefit of the video, I'm gonna mark this left, center, and right. So where we're looking at now, we're looking at the back of the carbs. So the engine is on this side here. This side here is the air filter side. So this is the left of the engine as you're sat on it, center and right. And I've marked the slides as well to make sure that if I ever take them apart. And this is the bit I wanted to show you. This is how I set the tick over screws. So that is obviously the pilot mixture screw, but these are the tick over screws. So those two have got the big wheel on it, that one hasn't. And what I do, it's simple. I've put this in, there's no needle in it, there's no cable on it. So when the throttle is shut, completely shut, and you've got slack in the cable, which you should have, this is just naturally dropping on its own. And that's a good way of telling. You can always hear a nice metallic sound when you drop it. If you wind that up too much, and I'll wind this one in now just to show you for demonstration purposes. If I wind that one in, you can tell the difference in sound. Can you tell the difference? Wind it off. Anyway, enough of the amateur dramatics. Right, this is the point we're going to get to. I use my torch, and I shine the torch from the engine side towards, now I don't even know if I can do this on camera, who knows. They're quite clever if we could. No, I'm not that clever. No, I'm not that clever. So what I do, I stand the torch, can't see now, I'm blinding myself with the light. I put that on top of the torch and I look down there and I wind the tick of a screw in until I get to the point where I can just see light, and it gets to quite a precise. Drop the carburetor. I should have done it that way around, then you could see what I'm doing with this hand. So I'm looking in there. The glasses stay on my face. And you get to a point where you can just see a chink of light. And you stop there. So that one is set. So that's just on the biting point of where it's starting to open. That's right on the biting point. And then I do it again. Stick it on there, wind this on. And I rock it backwards and forwards so I get it exactly on the biting point. Now you're probably thinking, well, why is he doing this off the bike? Because it'll all change when it goes on the bike. Well, no, it won't. And the reason is you make sure you've got slack in the throttle cables, so it's exactly the same as having no throttle cables at all. So if you do this, and this is why I mark the slides, because you must put the right slide back in the right carburetor after you've done this adjustment. So this is the last one. I just get it rocking, and there you go. Those three are absolutely balanced to perfection. All three of those are right on the biting point of where the slides start to lift. And this is another crucial thing, and this is what happens. This is one of the problems with these bikes, because they get out of kilter. English word there. So actually I think it's a Scottish word, but right, see, I've lost, I distract myself. So what I do now is I take the carb that is right on the point of opening, and I mark it at 12 o'clock or straight up. Now note that the screw itself is actually at like 2 o'clock or something like that, but it's very, very difficult to see that. And the reason Kawasaki give you these big things is because they're wedged in between two carbs and you can't see them. So that's why I put a big permanent marker pen mark at 12 o'clock. Do the same on this one. Now remember, I've not moved these. These are both right on the cusp. There's a good word, cusp, of opening. Now this is the, I nearly used a very non-PC analogy then, but this is the odd one out. So this one, because it's not got the big wheel in it, this is quite difficult to tell. And so again, I mark it like that. And in fact, I was going to do it, and because we're doing a video, I am going to do it. I'm going to go extreme, because that end one doesn't have a marker pen on, a big wheel on it. I'm going to mark it with this. A bit extreme, I know. And people say, oh, you damaged that. Well, maybe. But then guess what? It's my bike. It's my bike and I'll damage it if I want to. Right, so there you go. So you could, and another, there's another thought that's just come across my mind. Another difference is that, with that, is that you can actually feel that with your finger. So you could, I know that sounds ridiculous, but you can feel it with your, you know, if you're just sticking your finger in there, you can feel exactly where it is, and it does make a big difference. There's dirt in there. Right, so all those three are set exactly on the cusp of opening. So what I do now is I rotate them round one full turn. That's one full turn. That's one full turn. This one's probably best done with a screwdriver. There we go, and that's one full turn. Right, so all three of those are exactly one turn out. I mean, again, this goes back to the lollipop method, the lollipop stick method and the cocktail stick method and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, they all work and whatever works for you, but I think this is a little bit more accurate because you've proven to yourself with your own eyes that you're right on the cusp of where it's touching. And sometimes it's very difficult to say. I mean, I'll tell you what I used to do. I used to have it on the bike with the cables on, everything else, and I used to wind them all off, and then I used to put my finger in, and I used to rest my finger on the slide, and I used to wind them in, and until my finger, you could actually feel the slide start to move. And yeah, and I've used that method for years, and it does work. I mean, that is good. I mean, you've got to, you know, it depends how sensitive the ends of your fingers are, but yeah, that method does work. And again, it's very similar to the cocktail stick method and the lollipop stick method and all that kind of stuff. But I just think this, because you can see with your own eyes exactly where it is, and more importantly, and this is the big thing, more importantly, you've marked each individual one to the same. So when they're on the bike now, all three of those have got a mark sticking up, and you can visually see that they're all three of them are balanced. Now, if you need to adjust the tick over, if it's too low or it's too high or whatever, obviously you need to wind those screws in, but you can wind them all in identically. So if it needs a quarter of a turn, you turn that one from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, that one from 12 till 3, that one from 12 till 3, and you can visually see straight away that all three of them are at the same angle. You can't see, when you've not got those marks, you can't see that. You're thinking, it's all in your head. You think, yeah, I gave them one turn in, right, I give them another quarter of a turn each, and each one is slightly different. You know, each turn is slightly different to the other one, and before you know it, they're all over the place again. You know, you've lost your balancing. So I think this is a good way of doing it, because you can see with your own eyes that it's right on the cusp, and then once it's on the bike and you're riding it and you're messing about with it and everything else, you can still see with your own eyes that they're still balanced. So that's the Higgs's patented method of balancing the carbs. It's not patented really, I'm just talking bollocks. And speaking of talking bollocks, I'm now going to stop and go make myself a cup of tea, because it's tea time, because we are in England after all said and done. Right, we're back in the room. I've got my cup of tea, and so we'll get on with sticking it back on the bike. I'll just finish my tea with a picture of my lovely wife on. Look, my lovely biker wife Hillary. That's a picture of Hillary riding my LC at Classic Bike Night last year. Also, before I carry on, I just want to say this bike is a beautiful bike, and it was built by a good friend of mine, Neil McCallum, otherwise known as Neil the Don, from Kawasaki Triple's workshop. That's his number. So if you want a nice Kawasaki Triple, Neil's the man. So I'm just going to put it back on. I'm going to put these carbs back on, Also, another big thank you to Wasner UK, because they've just supplied me some new pistons with this. Nothing wrong with the ones that were in it, but they were worn because it's an old bike and I like everything to be spot on. So I've rebored it and I put some Wasner pistons in it, Wasner forged pistons, and it's beautiful. So now it's going to have a beautiful set of carbs on it as well, and it's really going to be finishing it off. So on with sticking the carbs on. So I'll go with the left one first. So I'll take all the caps off. I'll just put the left one first. I'll take the needle out because I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. So carb, take the slide back out, marked left, as is the carb. So now when I put it back in again, the tick over hasn't been adjusted. So first things first, stick the carb on. So stick the carb on. Oop. Where's my glasses? Can't see anything without my glasses. Yeah, these are me garage glasses. Right, stick the carb on. Before I do anything else, make sure it's vertical. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And tighten it up. So I do this first to make sure the carb is right into the rubber. You've got to get it right in. Get it right into the rubber, and there's nothing pulling it out that's going to stop you, that's going to cause it to leak. And make sure you use JIS screwdrivers if you've got them. If you haven't, go and buy some. If you've got a Japanese bike, you should have JIS screwdrivers. What have I forgot, boys and girls? Because I've got brain damage. Told you. I forgot to put the tow cable on. So you could put the choke on afterwards, but it's just so much easier if you do it first. And this, I like to do warts and alls videos, show you my cock-ups as well, because there's so many people who will just edit stuff out and say, oh yeah, you know, I did it all perfectly. Well, nobody's perfect, and I'm certainly not. Put the choke cable on first. Carb, choke cable with plunger. Stick it in there. Slide it on. Tighten it up. I've got the garage door open now, so we'll probably get invaded by our four-legged friends. Oh, Millie. Right, so that's the choke cable on. So back to what I was saying a minute ago. Put that on. Make sure that's absolutely bolt upright and straight, which it is. That. Which is why I like to do it with that on the main stand. Then make sure it's fully home in the rubber. Tighten her up. Tighten her up, Captain. There we go. The JIS screwdriver. Right, lovely, nice and tight. Right, so here we go. Here's the pointer on this video. Can you even see what? Can you even see? No, of course you can't. Right, so back to the Ivan's jet kit. And we take out the needles, his 5-angled needles, his world famous 5-angled needles. And we look at the instruction sheet again. Needles, float level, yeah, we've done that. Yeah. Told you we'd have dogs. Cat howling, dog off. Right, where are we? Needle clip position number 3. So he's telling you mix your screws, 1 turn out from lightly seated. Haven't done that yet, we'll do that in a minute. Range 3/4 to 1.5 turns out. Needle clip position number 3. So go with what the man says. Open the packet, take out the needles, and look, they've all got the clips already on number 3, which is great. So you don't need to do anything to them. And these are the Ivan's needles. I mean, I don't know how you probably won't focus on that. It'd help if I knew which end of the which end was the camera. I don't know. Anyway, look at them. They're works of art. If you look at the, just by way of comparison, they're the original. These are the original needles. These are Ivan's. Not much difference there. Where the hell is the bloody camera? Oh, it's there. By a process of elimination, we've worked out which end of the iPhone the camera is. So yeah, that's them. Enough waffle. No one's actually that interested. I hope dogs are off again. Right. Needle slide. Slide needle, needle slide, slide needle. Drop that in. Get the top with your rubber on it. Get your securing plate. Get your cable. Ah, I know what else all you triples purists will be telling me. They'll be saying, ah, but David, you've left something out. You've left out the little spring clips. You've left out the little spring clips that hold the cable on. Well, I deliberately leave them off. I don't want them on because they're a pain. And they go on there, on H2s. That goes in there and it holds the cable and it stops the cable coming out. Well, if you take carbs on and off as much as I do, you don't want them on because they're a pain. Right, anyway, stop waffling, get on with it. Spring, spring. Slide, slide. Hold it over, hit your clip, drop your clip in, make sure it's seated, make sure that's all seated nicely, and slide in with the, you need to make sure that that cutaway is facing the back, so that one's turning around, and you've got that wedge cutaway on this side where the tick over screw is. So just gently drop that in there. And tighten that up. Now we'd already done this before, so we know that that's onto the rubber, and we now know that slide, even as long as there's slack in the cable, which there is, we know that slide, because we've numbered it or lettered it, we know that is in exactly the correct position, and that has got exactly one full turn of tick over adjustment. More of that later. Right, so that's the left hand carb. So now that's the right hand carb, that's the far right hand carb because it's got the vacuum pipe on it. So this is the centre carb. And it's also got C on it. Bit of a clue there, David. Right. Take that off. Can you see? Can you work? Take the slide out. Drop the needle in. It's already on number 3, which is perfect. Drop that in. Get that over there. Right, I'm going to have to go to the other side. You may be able to see me, you may not, but I'll carry on talking. Can you see me? No. Doesn't really matter. Just gently put that on there. Right. So remember to put your... Remember to put your choke on first. Put the choke on. Tighten it up. Get your 12mm spanner, just give that a nip. Drop that on. Push it on. Make sure it's nice and central. Get your JIS screwdriver. Tighten her up. That's it. Then, where's the camera? Here. Oh, there you are. Tell you what I could do. It doesn't matter. You've seen enough of my ugly face, you don't need to see any more. Right, so, same again. Top on, spring on. And like an absolute idiot, I didn't pick up the clip, the securing plate. Right, so spring, oops, slide, marked C for centre, retaining plate, spring, drop it back in, cut away at the back, into the slot, slots in, yeah, that's what slots in there, lovely, clips on there, spin it up, yeah, lovely, that's two down, one to go, carb top, and don't forget the retaining plate. Right, screw that, take that out, take the top off, spring off, slide, put the carb on, walk all the way around back over here again because I forgot the flipping needle. Back over there. Put the needle into the slide. You know, the whole point of the whole video. Right. This side is not too bad because you can put the choke cable on afterwards because it faces this side, which is not too bad. Right. Carb, nice and straight. Yep. Well, tighten it up. Yep. That's good. Nice and tight on the clamp. What a tick. Did you hear that? Yes, you probably did. I've put the centre slide onto the right hand cable, which is the shortest cable. So, in the true spirit of warts and all's video, I'm putting it right. So I'm taking it out again. Yeah. I'm taking it out again. Oops. Removing that. Taking that off. And this is where it comes invaluable that I haven't put that clip on the end of the cable. Because this is where it will be a pain. Right. Let's put that back up. Not on there. retaining plate, drop it on the bench. Retaining plate, spring, clip, top, slide. Check the orientation. Drop it in, hunky-dory. Yep, that's on there. Tighten it up. And it's as if it never happened. Right, so now the right hand side one. Spring, slide, marked R for right. Drop that in, cut away to the back. Wind that down. That's on there. Just put the choke cable in. I'll put the choke cable in last on this one because I can. Because it's on the right hand side. And you can see it afterwards. Choke cable didn't want to slide in, didn't want to screw in rather. You've got to be very careful with them because you don't want to damage them threads because that's the carburetor body. Right. Right, that's the throttle, that's the throttles on. Now, so we know now that they've all got the same amount of throttle stop adjustment on them, so we know they're spot on. So now we need to, and there's plenty of play there because these are all screwed down to the bottom, so we know there's play on there without the slide moving. And now what I do is, well, I generally tend to, well, leave them slack for the second. The next bit I do is what I usually do. Is I get a cable tie. You can't see me there, can you? I'll drop it down a little bit. Not that it makes a great deal of difference. So, get a cable tie, put that around the front brake, around the throttle, pull that nice and tight, and then I wind the throttle on. And what that does is it locks the throttle into the position. So then what I do is I wind it out so it's wide open throttle, and then I rotate it backwards, and then using this highly accurate digital gauge, my index finger, I feel where the slide is right at the top, and then I check in the other ones. Oh, now the middle one is massively down, and the other one's massively down. So that means really either they want lifting or this one wants dropping. So what I'll do is I'll put this one, I'll drop this one as far as it possibly can. So, and then do it again. So wound that right up and then back it down until I can just feel the bottom of the slide level with the hole in the venturi. This one is massively down, so I can feel a lot of slide sticking down. I can just feel the edge of the slide coming level there. I can feel loads of slide there. So because I left these adjusters loose, I can simply wind that one up now with this hand until it's level. And I can feel that is flush right there. absolutely right there. And walk around because I forgot something else, my 10mm spanner. And then, so we're basing this one. So the idea is to find which one gets to the top first and use that one as the control, and then adjust the other ones, because it means just pulling the cable, because whichever one gets to the top first is in theory the shortest cable. So use that one, because then you can use the adjusters to make the other two catch up with it. You can't do it the other way around. You can't find which one gets to the top last and then adjust it from there, because you may not be able to. You may not have down adjustment. You've only got up adjustment. Understand that? Yeah, of course you did. So I'm locking this one off because this is the control one. That one is now beautifully flush. So I'm winding down the locking nut on that one. I'm locking that one off. Check that it's still there with my digital index finger. Yeah. Now we'll do the next one. I'll do this one over here just so you can see. Although I am going to have to swap this digital index finger for this digital index finger. Right. So stick it in there. In actual fact, no, I won't bother showing you. Trust me. Yeah, so I can feel quite a lot of slides sticking down there. So I'll wind this up, 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 until I can feel it absolutely flush. Yep, that's perfect there, that's absolutely flush. And I'll wind the lock nut down. And lock it off. So now all three slides have reached the top, and the only thing that's pulling them up now is the cable. Nothing to do with the tick over adjustment screw. That's out of the game. I'm not interested in the tick over adjustment screw now. Forget that. It's now all three slides are now being pulled up by the cable, and because I've adjusted the individual cables, they're now pulling up at the same time. Where did I put? How many times do I wander around this garage looking for stuff? Oh, there we go. Snips. So I can now cut the cable tie. And let's double check now. That's interesting. This one, the cable has come out of the slide. How could that possibly be? We ask ourselves. It's not lifted. So, again, in the spirit of warts and all, oops, let's have a look. Well, you know I told you I had brain damage. That's because on this one, I forgot to put the retaining clip on. Don't! Right. I should call this video How Not to Do Kawasaki Triple Carbs, because I've shown you more mistakes than I have actual good things. Right, put that back on. Make sure that's hacked into place. Don't forget the retaining plate, boys and girls. Drop that in. Put that back on. And I suppose this just goes to show it's all about checking and rechecking at every stage that it's all done. See what I did there? It's almost like I did it deliberately. I didn't. Right. So now that means now we're going to have to recheck, of course. So that's screwed in. That's all the way down. now. So give it a good open and close a few times, make sure that's all hunky-dory, then go back to the old finger test. So yeah, when that one's flush, sure enough, no, it's not, it's moved. So let's start again. So that's this one. We'll wind this one up and we'll get it to there. It's sliding a little bit. Just tighten that really tight. Right, so that's that one. Oh no, that's... Well, so I've got this one flush. I can't feel this one, but it doesn't mean to say it's right. Because I can't feel it, it may be too high. It may have disappeared above the venturi. So what I need to do to double check everything, I need to slacken this off, slacken the lock nut, and wind it back down to make sure it's right at the top. And no, it wasn't. It was over the top. So it just goes to show you do need to double check. Yeah, so that's nice and flush again now. That's nice and flush, but it did need adjusting. It did need adjusting again. So clearly that cable wasn't sat correctly in the slide, which is why it jumped out. I mean, if you want to be really particular, if you replay the video, when I did it, set them all, and then I did it like, you heard a different sound when I was dropping the slides on. You heard it like a double click, and I heard that, and that's why I thought, that doesn't sound right. So now I check this one, and again, I can't feel a slide, but it doesn't mean to say it's right, because the slide might be too high, which it probably is. So I'm going to slacken that lock nut, and then I'm going to wind it down. Yeah. Yeah, so again, this wasn't as bad as the other one, but I did have to readjust it. So that's locked off. That one, yeah. And this one, yeah. All good, all flush at the top. Cut the cable tie. Try again, let's have a listen. Spot on. Goody gumdrops, as Bricktop said. Right. So now I'm going to put this, the airbox rubbers back on, which can be a really horrible job. But fortunately, I've got a nice new rubber on here and it's super soft. So, put that one on, tighten it up. And this is the way I do this. I do that one first. And then try and align the middle one. Make sure the middle one's got its clamp on it. Put that around there. And this one, which was just dropped. Where did that go? Is trying to hide hide from me. That one goes in there. That one goes in there. Nearly done. Oh, bloody hell. Here's the other one's tight. I'll have to slacken it off like mad. Right, now do this one. Pull this forward, nip it up. There we are. That's the second one nipped up. And what's the third one? At least on these you don't have to worry about the annoying oil lines that go to the carburetor float balls on the B and C models, like that green one there. You have to put those on after. Of course it's a different system on these early ones, and they don't have oil fed directly to the float balls. It's fed into the holes, into the barrels through a hole under the base gasket. Right, more waffling. That sounds good. So, we're nearly ready. So I'll just leave, I won't slide those down just yet because I'll reconnect the fuel pipes, middle for diddle, that one there. You'll notice that the tap is pointing straight up. That's because it's a tango tap. What's a tango tap, you say? Well, a tango tap is one that's been refurbished and modified by Mark Spate of the Triples Club, aka Tango. Lovely fella, and he will refurbish your carbs like mine, and he also refurbishes your petrol taps. And what he does, these are vacuum taps. All of these Japanese taps are notorious for dripping, but what Tango does is he refurbishes it all with all new parts, all re-zinc screws, all that kind of stuff, but he modifies them, so he blanks it off internally, so the up position, which was prime, is now an off, because these vacuum taps, they don't have an off, they have on, reserve or prime. You can't physically turn them off, there is no off position. So when they start dripping, and they drip a lot, they're horrible. So what he does is he modifies them so they no longer rely on this vacuum to open the tap. He blanks all the internals off, so the prime position is now a true off, which is why you saw me put those on and there was no fuel coming out of them, because it was in the vertical position, which originally was prime, which lets it flow, free flowing, but now it's an off. There you go. And yet another good reason for joining the Kawasaki Triples Club, if you've got a Kawasaki Triple. I mean, if you've got a Kawasaki Triple and you're not in the Kawasaki Triples Club, why not? You get all this help from all these people who've got years and years and years of experience. Also, make sure you put the plug caps back on. What I do is when I take the cables off, I fold them out of the way and I take the plug cap off and put them behind. So I keep the cables separate. So the left cables are on the left, right cables are on the right, and the middle ones just leave them hanging. And the number of times I've gone to restart bikes and they won't start because I haven't put that on. Right. Yep, and I haven't clipped that one back on. So we're all done. So carbs are back on. Where's the camera? Oh, there you go. Carbs are back on. They're balanced. They're balanced on the cables. They're balanced on the tick over. I know what you're saying. Tick over pilot screw. Again, going to Ivan's instructions, one turn out from lightly seated. So just double check that's where it was lightly seated. Half, one turn. Middle one, lightly seated, half, one turn. This one, the adjuster, another reason why the right hand carb is different. The adjuster screws on the other side, makes life easier for you. Again, half, one turn out from lightly seated. So, the big moment approaches. So we'll turn the tap on, first of all, and this is always crucial, as any two-stroke tinkerer will tell you, make sure they don't leak, because stuff happens. You know, it only takes a tiny little bit of dirt under that needle seat to allow it to carry on running, and they will flood. And petrol will start to pour out. But so far, so good. Does he actually know what he's talking about? People say. Well, there you go. So the tap is now in the reserve position, so fuel will be flowing. I'm not going to pull one off and show you. I'm going to do one better than that. I'm going to start the bike. So I'm not going to rev the hell off it, because it's got its brand new Wasner pistons in, and it's got its modified heads, which I've had CC'd and O-ringed by my good friend Jeff Bates, who's a top Manx GP engine builder. Right, shut up waffling and get on with it. Let's see if we can. Let's see if we can readjust that. Ooh. Now this is a true test of faith, isn't it? Do I have faith in just kicking it as it is, totally cold, straight off? But I suppose the video would be kind of pointless if I didn't do that. So this is the Ivan's jet kit installed, exactly as per instructions. So we've got the needle, as he said, on clip 3. We've got his own needle jets installed, which is great. Pilots are set at what he says, which is one turn out from lightly seated. We've balanced it all, and now it's got brand new pistons in this engine. I have run it, but not a great deal, so I don't want to be too harsh with it. The choke on here is on the right hand side. I'll just push it across a little bit. Right. Will it start, or will it explode in a ball of flame? Stay tuned. Right, full choke. will get better and stronger as it warms up properly, as it should do. But the point is, it's got hardly any tick over screw adjustment, and it's ticking over. Obviously the proof is in the pudding, the riding, so I am going to try and do a little video. I'll turn this on. And that's always a sign of a good healthy engine, when it stops dead. If you turn the key off and it slowly stops, that's a sign of a really worn engine. Digressing again. So yeah, proof is in the pudding. The riding, the proof really will be when I ride it. So I'm going to work out how to get the camera attached to the tank and go for a little ride in it. I mean, it may still want slight adjustment. It may still want slight adjustment to the tick over. It may still want slight adjustment to the pilot screws, but I don't think it probably will. But we'll soon see. But that's the Ivan's jet kit installation and my tips on how I do it. Again, I'm no expert. I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm just saying that's how I do it. That's how I like to do it. And I bet you that bike will ride lovely now, and I'm sure it will. And we'll do a video, and hopefully I can show you it rides lovely. So there you go. Another little video on what I do and how I do it. Cheers. Ooh, my knees. Right, so there we have it. Kawasaki H2A with an Ivan's jet kit fitted. Runs absolutely superbly, as you can see. Fitted it exactly as per the kit. Job's a good one. So that's that. Also, while we're here, just to point out that this bike has got the Higgsys'S side stand on it, which we make. If you're looking at that and thinking, well, my H2 leans over a lot more than that, that's because we make an extended replica side stand and it's longer, and they're available through a Higgsys'S. Right, thanks a lot.